was late summer or so,
That's right.
and Kathy had mentioned that they had an unusual collection of birds, and it was also something that was considered for part of an estate sale. I should mention that the estate was down in Pewaukee. This was her father's estate, and they lived down in the Chicago area. So they only make a trip up to where her mother is every couple of weeks. And what was interesting about this is here they had about a week and a half time before the estate sale, and so they needed to have an assessment of the birds that were there. They realized from talking with others that those protected under the Migratory Bird Treaty Act could not be sold, and so wanted to know which ones applied to that, if there were any that we might want for the education center, and would I come down and take a look, and I needed to do so because on the day of the estate sale itself, they couldn't even be there, and with that, whatever was left in the house all was up for auction. So I remember we had talked that you were going to be up there Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. I looked at my calendar, I thought, well, maybe Wednesday, Thursday wasn't going to work, and if nothing else, then Friday. Well, things came up on Wednesday, it didn't work out, and with that, I remember on that Friday, I had signed out the only van we had here because I needed a large vehicle to possibly bring up some of the specimens. And as I walked in the morning, I don't know what failed on the computer, but here was one of my colleagues, and he had the keys in his hand. He said, well, I got the van, and there's an emergency still. I've got to be heading out. And with that, I thought, well, okay, I might have made a mistake. Go ahead, take the van, I'll catch up later. He didn't get back here until about 1:30 in the afternoon. And now things were getting quite busy. I was behind on work, and I don't even know if I shared this with you, but I have to tell you, in all frankness, I was thinking, oh, geez, things are rather busy. I don't know if I'm going to have time. I'm not sure about this collection, and maybe I just can't make it. Well, Clyde had left a phone message. I got back into the office. It was 3 o'clock, and we'd like to have him come down. And I didn't know if I could make the arrangement to keep my promise, and so I dialed. All of a sudden, talking with him, I certainly didn't have the heart to say that I wasn't going to make it, and I was able to grab the van, drive down, and I remember thinking to myself, geez, how did I get into this? Now it's Friday, it's 5 o'clock in the evening, everybody else is going home, I've still got to go down to this bird collection. So I drove down, and as soon as I walked in, I thought, well, maybe this would be something that I'll take a quick look at. I didn't know how expensive it was. Ended up it lasted almost 4 hours as we looked through this incredible collection. Her grandfather had done the taxidermy. Her father was a cabinet maker, his hobby, and he was not just an amateurish collection. The entire basement was all cabinets lit up, and it was just spectacular, all glass, very nicely done. So she took pictures of it and went through it one by one, naming each bird, going through this. And I mentioned this a little earlier on the side here. I still remember, here was a glass case. She said, my father told me that there was something in the collection that was very, very special. We need to take care of it. He says, right here, and she said, he pointed to this case, there's a passenger pigeon. As I looked at her, sorry, but this is actually a Hungarian partridge. And she said, yeah, we realized that, he didn't have that right. He was getting old, and he also had macular degeneration, so his vision was going. And at that point, I thought, well, there must not be a passenger pigeon in the collection. And I remember Kathy saying, well, should we show Bill now? And we're going back and forth, well, should we wait? Should we show him? And finally Clyde said, well, as long as you guys have curiosity, now we got to go. And I said, well, where are we going at this point? So we went out of the basement, upstairs, into a house that was almost all cleared out. They opened up the closet door, and I almost fell over because here it was a passenger pigeon. And I wasn't expecting, because I thought this was just a bad misidentification. And as we looked at the bird, I remember Clyde had mentioned, well, somebody had offered us a couple $1,000s in Australia. And I don't even know what this thing's worth, but it certainly isn't worth that kind of money. Certainly not that little. And what I mentioned then to him was that, well, you can't even put a price on this, because the true value isn't monetary. It's really it's scientific, it's cultural, and it's historical value. And at that point I said, the only thing to do with this is it belongs in the museum. And that's what Kathy said, well, she would tell Bill. And I turned over and says, well, we'd like to have our paperwork on. And it was a very touching moment. It was an incredible surprise. And here was something of such a rare find that I had the privilege just to even come down and see it and go through the collection. And to think that this would be something that would be given here on a loan basis to us here at Horicon Marsh as a home where it was not as an individual collection, but to be shared with everyone. It's an incredible treasure. So my sincere thanks to Kathy and Clyde and to the Zimdar family for their incredible generosity to loan this to us as part of our collection to share with all the many visitors. And so with that, tonight, this is our first evening for everyone to be able to see one of the last specimens of Passenger Pigeon. Would you please come up and give us the honors?
But I know you're all wondering, where did we get this passenger pigeon after Kelly's talk? And I must tell you that my grandfather found it in a garbage can, in case you're wondering. So he did not shoot it, he didn't, net it or any of these things. And that's the story that I have. I don't know too much about it. My grandfather was born in 1877, so we don't know exactly when this was, but this story came out to the family. He found it in a garbage can. So when he picked it up, knowing his birds and everything, and mounted it. So, okay.
Before we do, we have a few pictures. Will you take a look at this?
I'd like to show you. Oh, upside down. Okay. This baby picture is my father, and in his buggy. My dad was born in 1916. But I just thought it was unique that my grandfather wanted to take a picture with the golden eagle. That's how much he loved birds and animals. And there's my grandfather. I think, is that a hawk over there, Bill? I think it's golden eagle, maybe, or something.
Yes.
Golden eagle. Okay. And then, do you want to? Yeah, this picture. This is my grandfather and his sister and brother, and there was 20 years difference, so we're quite sure this picture was taken about 1904. And you can see at that time he already had major collections, so he was mounting when he was a really young man. And most of the time people would just bring him things. I don't think he was a really great hunter, but they would bring him things, and he just made them appear very lifelike. So. Yeah, and this is, that's my dad there, and that's his maternal grandparents and his mother. And of course, again, they put the owl in the picture. I just thought that was sort of cool. Always have to have some kind of a bird there. Maybe I'll show some of these with the case. There's the case. Okay. Yeah, this is my grandfather, and actually in this case, at the top left, we believe that the bird to the very far left was the passenger pigeon. He was in a case with all kinds of other birds, including the prairie chicken that no longer exists in Wisconsin. I guess they find them out in the Dakotas and so forth, but you can just see, here he's aging, but he continued to mount through his whole life, and he lived to be 90 years old, so many, many years. Lived in Waukesha. That's my grandfather. I think this is his wedding day, actually. But,
where's the bird in that one, Kathy?
Yeah, that's the only one without a bird, I guess. Okay, some of these are sort of old pictures, but you can see the variety of animals, including the badger from the state of Wisconsin and so forth. And on many of these other ducks and birds, Bill is also going to display in the museum here. We're so happy that the general public can have them. Is this a heron?
Yes.
Oh, that's a heron, yeah. And this bird case, actually, we donated the whole case to the museum here. I can't remember. There was one case that had 40-some birds, and another one had around 20 birds in it. So both of those will be on display here eventually. Oh, here's my dad. This is sort of nice. This is my dad, and this is the display cabinet that he had in his basement. And he had a small museum of about 3 walls that he'd bring family members and friends and anybody who wanted to come and see it. And it was really great. He wanted everyone to see it, but we really wanted to be available for children, for education, and the general public. And I was formerly a school teacher too, so I realized the value of displaying these things publicly. And so we did want to share it. Many of these birds too, Bill has. I guess that's all I have. Thank you. Thank you. You're welcome.
should mention that the bird itself is still in possession of the family. We worked out a formal agreement that this is on loan to the education center at this point, and this will be exhibited as we develop our permanent exhibits. And again, our sincere appreciation to Clyde and Kathy for making this available. And if you please come up one more time.